Hi there folks, and welcome to another episode of Michael's 3D World. Well, I got a little problem here. My first printer I bought has already crapped out on me. And I narrowed it down to the E drive. The E is the extruder drive. It quit extruding material. It's weird because I thought it was having some print issues. I thought it was settings issues. And I saw the printer starting to extrude less and less and less, which I thought was kind of weird. So I couldn't figure out what was going on. I thought it was settings I was doing in my slicer and different things like that. And then all of a sudden, it just plain stopped. Well, when you have electrical problems, troubleshooting those are probably the absolute worst. I'd rather replace a bearing or do something like that, or a broken belt, or any number of things that are mechanical over electrical. I'm not that great at electrical and diagnosing, but I was able to diagnose what went wrong here by taking and swapping the drives out, and I'll show you how I did that. But fortunately, through the miracle of modern technology and the internet and everything else in between, I could order a brand new main board for about 38 bucks once I determined that's what was wrong. So here I have. Well, the other one wasn't sealed like this. What's going on? Hang on. I have one that's open already. Sure I did. Huh. Guess not. Now it's open. But brand new main board. Now what was in here is a 4.2.2 version. The one that's on here is a 4.2.7, so this is the newer version main board. And basically I'm going to replace this one with the one that's in, replace this one for the one that's in there. And basically I want to take all these wires and unplug them and plug them right back in here, exactly where these are. Put the screws back in place, put the bottom fan back on, I'll be back in business. But let me show you what I did to diagnose what went wrong. And I'd encourage you to have, if you don't have Octoprint hooked up to your computer and working, controlling your computer wirelessly, and it's real handy. It is so handy. So let's get in here and I'll show you what's going on. Now I know the light may not be 100% perfect in here, but what I did in here, you've got your different drives. So here's your E drive, your Z, your Y, and your X. And what I did to diagnose what was going on, because I noticed every time I'd hit extrude on Octoprint, the extruder would not move. So then I swapped the extruder wire here out. I did it up top first between the X and the E. I swapped the wires, and lo and behold, I could hit X, like to move X on my computer, and then all of a sudden the extruder would move. I'm like, okay, so I knew it wasn't the motor. So then what I did is I came down here and I swapped this E and X with one another, here and here, or I did it with E and Z because they were closer together. Swapped these two out, and then when I hit Z, for instance, all of a sudden the extruder moved. So then I knew it wasn't the wiring, because the wiring harness was good all the way up to the extruder. And then I put Z over here on the E, and I'd hit the E and nothing would happen. I put the X over here on the E location, and there again I'd hit the X and nothing would, or hit the extruder part and nothing moved in X. So then I knew it had to be something on the driver for the extruder on the motherboard. So for 38 bucks, got a brand new one here, and we're going to go ahead and swap these out and see if that fixed my problem. And then we'll power it back up and see if I can get the E drive motor to work. So cross your fingers. I'm going to put you in time-lapse mode, because all I'm going to do here, folks, it's easy enough. I'm going to pull each one of these wires out of here, and I'm going to match them up wire for wire where they go, so I don't have to even try to think about where they're supposed to go. They're going to automatically go where they need to go. And I'm not going to worry about putting this, right now you can see there's some hot glue holding a lot of these in place. I'm not going to worry about doing that, simply because they do that from the factory to help it not come loose in shipping, so that as soon as you get your 3D printer, that your wires have popped loose in transit, because we know how shipping and how parcel boxes get handled, tossed around, dropped, and everything in between. And the last thing you want to do is have one of these wires come loose and you're a newbie to the 3D printing world and your printer does not work as a result. So without further ado, let's jump in and start swapping these wires out onto the new motherboard and get the new, main board, get the new main board put back in. All right, I ran into some issues with my boards, and my boards turned out to be fine. These were supposed to be plug-and-play boards. I'm gonna leave a link to the Amazon description down below, or a link to the boards in the description down below. I got these from Amazon. They were like I said, they were 38. I think they were actually $42 a piece to get them here. I bought two because I'm gonna put one on my Ender. That's a silent board on my Ender3. This was a silent version, and that's what this board is 4.2.7 is all about. What I did not know is that it wasn't going to work right out of the box. Now, it was advertised plug and play for an Ender3 V2 to go right in place and operate, turn it on, and you're ready to go. Lo and behold, that was not the case for me. So in case you guys run into something like this, this is going to be a little quick lesson on what I learned, what I had to do. So you have your SD card. So what this has is called I'm going to make sure I get this right. It has a bootloader, I think it's called, on the motherboard, which allows you to update your firmware with just by installing an SD card. Well, then I did some more research because that did not work. I put it all together and my X, Y, Z, and E drives would not move at all. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And then I learned that there's actually another place for an SD card in the back of your controller. So I've got this apart right now. You have to take your 4 screws, pull the back off your control, and there's another spot for an SD card right here. So there's a process that you have to do to get it to recognize everything. And this is what I did. I'm going to show you on the screen here. I'm going to go to my computer screen. I'm going to show you the 2 files and the 2 types of cards you have to use to download it, and I'll also show you the website I used to follow the instructions. The one weird thing about the instructions that I thought was kind of funky is when you turn it back on, because normally when this is off, like this is going to be here in just 1 second. Let me see here. Okay, when it's off like this and you follow the instructions, you have to put a card in here. And when you put that card in here, and I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do this first. You put the card in, and then you're going to power it on. And what's going to happen is this screen will turn blue. You won't see this. It'll turn blue, and then it'll turn orange. It won't load like this. And it'll turn orange. And while it's turning orange means it's loading the software into the control panel here. Once it's loaded, I left it on for like an hour because the way the instructions read online was that it will load and then it will go and do that little boot you just saw there. That did not work. What it did is the screen turned orange like it said it would, so I left it orange. I left it like that for an hour thinking it's going to take a while, but it wasn't the case. So then what I found out, I was able to, I powered it off, pulled the chip out, powered it back on, and all of a sudden it loaded. I'm like, okay. So then when that happened, I powered it back off, and then I put the other SD card in here. Well, actually, I take that back. I had them both in here at the same time. And I had this one turn orange, and this wasn't doing anything. But then I got all frustrated, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I've been working on this for a week, mind you, to figure it out. And I'm not that tech savvy, but I'm learning as I go here. So what I did, finally, the end result was I had the one card in here, and I had the one card in here. I turned it on, powered it up. This screen turned orange. I left it that way, not knowing what I was doing, but left it that way, orange screen for a while. Once, I'm like, that's enough. It's been sitting like this for an hour, right? I powered it back off, turned everything back off like this, pulled both cards out, powered it back on, and lo and behold, it came up like this, doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And then I went to my control, I think it was control, no, let's go back, it was prepare, and then move, and then I found out I could move my X, Y, and Z just fine. And then I couldn't move the extruder because it wouldn't allow me to move the extruder unless it was up to temperature via this control panel. So then I put the cooling fans back on up here on over the nozzle, and then I end up taking it up to 200 degrees, and lo and behold, then the extruder moves. So I just wanted to walk you through a little bit of that because it was not plug and play. And I'm only telling you guys this because in case you run into stuff like this, it can be a bit frustrating. But now I'm ready to put this all back together because now I've ran through this. But right now, before I put this back together, I'm going to jump over onto my computer and show you the two files, where I downloaded them from, and what you're looking for, and the two types of SD cards you need to plug in, how they're formatted, and plug into here to get that to work. You may have something different. I'm not an expert. I'm going to discount, I'm going to, what are you going to call it? Let you know that I'm not the guy to ask these technical questions of. I'm just showing you what happened to me. And honestly, if I have to do this again, this video is going to be something I have to refer to 6 months from now in case I'm doing this again, because by then I probably will have forgotten how I did it. So let's go to the computer. We'll be back in just a second, and we'll start putting this all back together. All right, let's get started here. What you see on the screen here is the creality.com/download website. That's where you're going to go and get your file from. You need to flash the firmware, to update the firmware on your printer. So right now I'm going to the Ender3 V2. That's the version I've got. We're going to open that up, and then you can go down in here and you can see there's a mainboard zip file that you can download. We'll click download on that. It's downloading right here. I think it's done. It's a zip file, and I've got the RAW extractor, the WinRAR zip archive extractor. If you open this up, you're going to see that you have a file like this called Ender3 Marlin mainboard, and what you're looking for is a bin file, a .bin. And we can open this up and look inside, and here's what you got is a V2 bin file. Right there it says bin file. You want to put that on its own SD card. So I've created two folders on my desktop here, and I'll show you those. So what I did is I created two folders. One is called an machine SD card. The other one I called the controller SD card. The controller is the blue screen, you know, the box with the blue screen on it. The machine is that one. So what you're going to see right now is I have an EEPROM DAT file in there, and I have an Ender3 V2. Just copy that onto that file, that bin file, onto that SD card, and you're good to go there with that particular card. Hold on to that. And then the other one is the controller SD card. You're going to find a file that's got a DWIN set in it like this, and it's going to have these files inside. You're going to copy this one straight to the card so it just looks just like this. And now the interesting part is you've got to format that card that goes in here to a FAT32, and it's got to be a 4606 bytes, I think, is the format it's got to have. You got to format that SD card with that particular format and then copy this file onto it for it to be useful for you. That's what I had to do on mine. You may have some variation on yours. I can only speak to exactly what I did. I'm not an expert, but I know what worked for me. So anyway, so we've extracted that file. We've moved it to the SD card. The other file we're going to need is that DWIN. I think it was DWIN. What did I call it? Controller SD card. DWIN set. You need to find the DWIN set. The other thing I used was latest firmware. The Ender3 V2 latest firmware .rar. I downloaded that one. As you can see, it downloaded here. We'll go in and my download folder. Where the heck it just went. So we got downloads. and it was the where'd it go? It's right here. I know it is right there. So that's the one that I just downloaded. It's going to have the Ender 32-bit firmware, and in here you're going to have main board and screen. Here's where you get your Dwin set, is from that particular file, and then your main board can also, you can use this one right here, this bin file. So both of those are in there. You want to put those on two separate cards. On this particular Ender3 V2, like I said, the one, as you saw in my the video where I was showing you the parts and pieces, you're going to have a controller SD card you create, and you're going to have a machine SD card. Now I'm going to leave a link to this description, to this location, this Craft Cloud. Get 3D printed, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this is where I went for the instructions. And it says, you know, read through this thoroughly. This is where I found my best help on how to do this one on my particular the new V.2.2 and the V2.7 main boards, you know, talks about that, why upgrade. Then it talks about this particular piece of software, and I forget what it's even called. I didn't use it. You'll see it. You'll see different people using it. I did not use it for this. This is for going in and editing, actually going in editing your configurations to customize them for your needs. I'm not smart enough to use that yet. Someday, maybe. Not today, Santa. Not today. What did I say? Not today, Satan. There you go. We'll say that. So yeah, it goes through step by step, shows you to turn the power off, shows you here's your Dwin set, and that formatting part I was talking about is a key on the startup. Let's see here if I can find where it said. It's here. Then let's see. Yeah, see right here. Here's where they're putting the card in the back. Formatting the other micro SD card, that's what I was talking about. And here's what I was talking about. You got to format the micro SD card to a FAT32 file system and a 4096 byte allocation size. So that's exactly what I did for that, and that's what worked for me. And then when I plugged this in right here, and I powered it on, and that's when my screen went orange. Well, guess what? That meant it was working. The interesting part, because in here when it says tells you how to format the card, put it in, and see here, see that orange screen you're seeing right there? That's what it'll do. Now, what's interesting, slightly, see here, it says the initial steps for this process slightly different depending on whether you use a pre-configured or self-configured firmware. Make sure you read the instructions that apply to you. So that's where the gray area is. So the Dwin set is what's on that particular SD card that you formatted FAT32 4096 bytes. I was able to do that on my 8 gigabyte card that came with my printer. That's the one I used. And then, what did it say here? If you download the RAR file, the RAR file from Creality's website, you'll find this folder, just like I showed you just a minute ago. Copy the folder in there, paste onto the SD card. This is what you're doing on your computer to get the card ready. Let's see. Yeah, right here is where I messed up. So power on your computer. Your LCD screen should be an orange blank color screen. Wait until you're here's where it's screwed up. Where this instruction did not work for me. Wait until your LCD shows your printer's home menu, which is a sign that the LCD firmware is updated is complete. Shut off the printer again, remove the micro SD card from the LCD circuit board as you won't need it anymore. Well, guess what? It won't come up. Mine didn't come up with the home screen. It wasn't until I shut it off, pulled the card, restarted it, just like I described earlier in this video, that's when it actually worked. Reassemble your LCD screen, remount it to your printer, and then next you can upload your firmware. So you can do it that way. This is the way it will work. So the second disk you created with your firmware update, you plug in, power on your computer again, and it'll update the firmware. Once it's all updated, you can go and look at it, and it'll tell you that your info screen on your control panel, it'll tell you it's been updated. It'll show a 1.1.0 1 or whatever version you installed. Anyway, I hope this is helpful. This is what I had to run through. I spent hours and hours and hours combing over different YouTube videos, different websites, different things, just trying to come up with the answer. This is the website that helped me the most, but it wasn't 100% complete. But I will leave links, so just do your research, do your reading, follow me as closely as you can. I know this isn't a complete step-by-step, well fine-tuned, presentation of how to do this. Like I said, my board I thought was going to be a plug and play, but it was not. Let's go back and see if the machine's how it's working today. I've had it now up and going for about 3 days. It's working fine. All my drives are working like they're supposed to be working. I've installed a new bed on it. That'll be in an upcoming video. But that's what worked for me. Back to the live camera shot. Well, there you have it, folks. Fully operational again. I'm actually printing some more pieces for some more printer parts, actually. And then I'm going to get back to printing some more boat parts. But working fine. Does everything I want it to do. Like I said, the extruder drive part of the motherboard, or the main board, went bad. Put the new board in, did all the stuff I was supposed to do. Now it works. So I've only had this thing a little over a month. And that went out on it. Not too happy about that. But, electronic devices, anything could go wrong at any time. And the nice thing about these machines, it's not a very expensive fix. I'd have wasted more time trying to return this machine, and I couldn't even return the machine. I've made so many mods to it already, which people will go, well, you've been messing around with it, you screwed something up. Well, the mods I made to this machine did not have anything to do with how the electricity went through the wire to the drive. But anyway, hope this was helpful for you folks. Like I said, we're going on this printing adventure together. I have had some pitfalls. This would be one of them that stumped me on this machine for over a week. Now I can't work on this 24/7. Obviously, I've been doing this when I have the time, in the evenings and the early mornings and anything in between. But we got to figure it out. We got her done. If you're into the same problem, I hope this video helps you out. I may only get 4 views on this video. That's fine, because I hope nobody has the problem I had with this. But you guys, if you happen to have a problem with it, you can go back and refer to this video and figure out how to fix it yourself as well. Don't be afraid to dig into these things. I mean, I'm not saying I'm an expert by any stretch. I'm somewhat mechanically inclined, so I'm not afraid to dive in and make things happen. You guys get out there and have some fun. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and this is Michael, and I'm out.